This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to PNV Technical HUB. Hi. So in this session, we are going to discuss about working with entire architecture using ASP.NET. So which is an end-to-end elaborative tutorial where you can get a sample project in which we'll see how to interact with a form with the help of your entire application. So generally, what does a tire mean? Basically, we have a multiple things whenever we are going to deal with an entire architecture. So few may call it as an entire architecture, few may call it as a 3-tier or 2-tier or multi-tier. So basically, so and another name for an entire architecture is also called as a multi-tier architecture. So as we working with an enterprise based application or commercial based application, or we can say it's a real time based application, this tiers may varies from company to the company or organization to the organization. In my organization, I may go with only 3 tiers. In some other organization, they may go with 4 tiers. If some other organization, they may go with 5 tiers. We cannot specify how many tires will be there as a discrete count. It has to be varies from organizations to the organization. So why this will be really helpful? Because which is really encourages separation of the pattern. Means if you are working with a larger application, say if your application demands for the change, say I want to change something, so at my presentation layer, so some text box is not aligned properly or something. So in normally, if you write everything in the same code, automatically what we have to do, you have to be once after the change, you have to be deployed your entire pages which are required for your project. But whenever you are dealing with your tire, so say your presentation layer, so you can deploy only presentation layer because the changes belongs to your presentation layer. So your layers will be broadly divided into multiple categories according to your requirement. So first, let me go to the entire architecture. Entire architecture is also called as a multi-tier architecture, which illustrates the essence of logical separation we discussed just now. If we want to work with the design, we can go and work with the presentation layer. And we have another layer. Because the software is tailored with accepting of an input from the user, thereby involving in business logic implementation, data processing, etc. Generally, what is the software? Say I implemented a software which might take an input from the user, input whatever the user input is there, it was processed, and accordingly it will generate some response. That's how the process will looks like, right? So generally, in this case also the same thing. Generally, that will be the same thing for everything. So we have to be defined which process can be done in the which layer. To make all the things into separate for effective maintainability, we used to use entire architecture. Say tomorrow I want to change in my business logic. I no need to touch other layers. I will go with business implementation layer and I will do the change. I can deploy. So that which is very easy in terms of maintenance point of view. In order to work with entire architecture, we have to understand about model, presentation, business, and data access layers. So, as we mentioned earlier, layers varies from project to project as well as organization to organization. Primarily, we'll focus on the following layers. So, generally, which all depends upon your organization to the organization. Say, model layer. The name itself indicates that here we can declare the classes required for your project. So, say for example, I want to create an user. So what does an user contains? User may contains username, they may contains email ID, they may contains mobile number, they may contains a role, they have a some other properties like first name and last name, and all the stuff is there, right? All these things will mention under the one of the class, that is nothing but user class. This is nothing but which we will be placed in the model. This class can be utilized in your business layer as well as it will be utilized in data access layer as well as it will be utilized in your presentation layer. That's how we used to manage. So that's what your model layer. This layer is responsible of declaring a classes in the project. Example, classes related to user creation, role creation, login, etc. has to be declared in this layer. Next, presentation layer. This layer is responsible of designing of the UI, and all those things will be available in this presentation layer. And then, so you have an architectural pattern of entire apps. This is the basic architecture pattern for your entire. So basically we used to interact with the presentation layer. So we'll pass an input to the presentation layer, and then that input will be forward to the business access, and then it will forward to the data access, and then it will be forward to the database. So finally database generates a response, it forward to data access forward to business access layer, and business access layer forward to the presentation layer. Internally your model has a inbuilt interaction between your presentation layer, business access layer, and data access layer. So that's how the communications will be going on with your entire apps. Next is, in order to implement this thing, we used to work out with a steps, right? So I considered one application which is an online bus reservation management system. So I upload that project once after this video in my blog itself. You can feel free to download that one and you can use that one. And even respect to scripts related to that project will also be uploaded in the same blog, so that you can download that one and execute your script in the database, and you can feel free to execute your things. So in this first step is, I would like to create a website. So I will name my website as OBRM, meaning Online Bus Reservation Management System. In my context, this is my presentation layer. After that, if you want to add any other layers, all your layers are class libraries. Class libraries always generates a .dll file. Acronym for DLL is dynamic link library, which will not an executable project, which will helps you to execute your main project. Okay, we cannot run in class library. So next, so in this, first I will create a model layer by right clicking on this and by clicking on add new project. After that, same step you can do, and you can create your business access layer and then data access layer. After that, you can add the reference of your ML to OBR means you can add the reference of your model layer to business layer, as well as model layer to data access layer, and as well as model layer to your project. After that, this is very important step. So set project build order dependency of the project. So generally people may not care about your build order. So if they fail to follow this step, automatically they may end up with an error. Though your references are there, so few times your references won't be recognized because you didn't set the build order. So build order is nothing but first which project has to be executed. This thing we have to be set at initial time, so that implement your code and run the application by setting OBR main as a startup object. You can set your presentation layer as a startup object, then only you can execute your code. Otherwise your code cannot be executed. So in this tutorial, I would like to merely concentrate on how to create a role. So like insertion, edits, inactive, and how to create a user screens. So here also we can understand about insertion, edit, and as well as inactive feature. Inactive is nothing but more of delete, but I'm not deleting the data, just I'm updating the status. So active to inactive, that's it. Next, change password, sign up screen, forgot password, login screen with forms authentication, so which is based on the role, and sign out. These functionalities will be, focused on this one. So, and you can find the complete source code of this tutorial. So in my YouTube, description, as well as in my blog itself, so that you can download that one and you can understand those things. And if you have any suggestions, or if you face any problems, please comment on my channel so that I can revert you on this. So this is your complete project structure. So here I have OBR main, which is my presentation layer. So if something is highlightable, which means that you can understand this is a startup object. Suppose if I want to make this as a startup object, right click on this and click set as startup. Then you can understand that will be in highlighted mode. The meaning is which is a runnable project. So of course your class library is not a runnable project. So that's the reason I want to be run only my presentation layer. So that's the reason I set it as a startup object. This is a solution, right? So you can create a class library like this. Right click on this and click on add new project, and here you can choose Visual C Sharp. Here your class library will be there. So name your class library like ML, BL, DL and click OK. Automatically it generates for projects like this. Class is by defaultly generated. Rename your class to model and then which is ML related, and data access layer related DAL, and business access layer you can put it as a BAL. So likewise you can put it. So now this is the way how we are implementing the implementation process. Now what I want to do is, when I am trying to navigate to my project, let me execute this project. I have an few various sections. So first of all I want to log in my page. So this is my login page. So first let me show my database structure. So this is my users table. So all my users are available here, and then this is my roles table. So all my roles are available here, and as well as users are there, roles are there. So by using this, my entire process is going on. So I have a different users, and as well as I have a different number of roles. These are the roles: admin, clerk, and customer and agent. First, let me log into any of the page. So I would like to log in Sharwani page. Her email ID is sharwani.rgt, so which is nothing but her username, and then password is 123456. You can set that password as 123456, and I'm trying to check and trying to navigate. So now this is my login section. So I would like to set how my project build orders has to be required. See, I set my project build order. So just right click on your project and click here build dependencies. So here build, click on project dependencies. So in order to execute your OBR main, what needs to be executed? You need to be executed BL, you need to execute DL, you need to execute ML. All these are required. Just tick on this one. If you want to execute ML, do you need any dependency? No, don't select anything, because for ML you don't need anything. So similarly, if you want to execute your BL, do you need anything? Yes, you need. How you know? So because you added a reference of ML, right? So go to the BL, you added a reference of ML, and as well as you added a reference of DL, because that's how your architecture diagram is showing. So you are communicating with your business access layer. Business access layer is a communication between data access layer and model layer. So these things are required for you. So that's the reason for BL, DL and MLS required. For DL, same thing. So in order to execute your DL, what required for you? So you required ML, select that one and click OK. Likewise, ensure your project dependencies are in proper, because for your DL you need your ML, and you this ML will be utilized in the projects. That's how we used to manage, right? Just build the solution, your solution got built, and you will finally notice that build succeeded. Okay, first of all I want to implement a code for user role, means role creation. So once after the login, user has to be created their own role, right? So how these roles will be created? See, I told you I will explain you something about my business access layer. This is my, sorry, not business, my model layer. This is my model layer. See, I created multiple number of classes. All these are my classes. So user, I have a class. All my user contains the columns which are required for your table. All will be declared as a properties. So ID is one property which is an integer, name is an one property, role, mobile number, likewise all properties are declared here. So this is for user creation, this is for role creation, this is for email template. Like that you can create your own properties. Okay. So first, once after my login, I'm executing. So this is my login page. Once after my login, I want to perform. So you have to make this as an password field so that you cannot display your data into an direct native format. So this is the nothing but your user data. Once you add this user here, automatically that will be saved in this section. So for this, I would like to explain. So my user create page is available under admin section. So here in Solution Explorer, you have a project OBR main. Under this, you have an admin. So under this section, you have user create as a project. So this is the design of this page, and you can create. So once user clicks on this, so if the name of your button, if the text of your button is save, then we are trying to implement this one. So it requires a user as a class, right? I'm filling all the things, and it will transfer to your request to the user code up. Means I am trying to interact with the business access layer. In this business access layer, I implemented user code operation. So I'm trying to interact with my data access layer. From this data access layer, I implemented a code. So let me check how the code is there. So this is a stored procedure. This stored procedure is trying to insert the data. So what is the name of the stored procedure? Users code usp users code op. This is the name of your stored procedure. So now you can check, this is your stored procedure. So in this stored procedure I implemented a different if condition. The same stored procedure is helping for insertion of the data, deletion of the data, updation of the data. If you want to select a particular id related data, I can use. So login functionality can be done with this, and forgot password functionality also can be done with this. Everything will be separated with one flag, that is nothing but operation type. If I specify operation type 1, then I can, which will be understandable for me that I am trying to insert the data. So now, so I use insert statement, I'm trying to insert the data. If user passes operation type 2 for deletion, I'm not using delete command, and just I'm inactivating the data. That's it. So for updation, so I'm updating whatever the fields are required by using my update statement based upon the ID. So here, if you observe here, all the parameters are optional parameter, so that what are the parameters required according to my context, those parameters only we pass. Operation type is 3. Operation type 4 means I will select the particular record. If 5, I will select the I will work out with a login functionality by passing the email ID and password. And for work, if user forgot their password, I will email their information by using their email ID. So likewise, so this one, and it will be executed, it generates a response. If the response is positive, which means if the response is greater than 0, means your execute non-query always returns a number of rows affected by the query. The moment your insertion is done, it will generate say more than 0, then we can say user was added successfully. After that, so I am sending this information in an email body, like I will send an information through email. So stating that so and so is your email user ID and so is your password. This functionality will be implemented in the business access layer. In business access layer, I consider one class, so that is email, which is a static class. Here I implemented a code for the send email. So in this send email section, I'm trying to write a code. So from which email you want to send, to which sender you want to send, subject of the mail and body of the mail. So and then you have to be pass your from email id and password from that email id, and the port will be 587, and host, from which host means few people may use Gmail, few people may use Yahoo, likewise, right? So this is your host. Since I'm using Gmail, smtp.gmail.com, like that you have to be used. If you use Rediff, you can use smtp.rediffmail.com, like that. And from which email you want to send, so use that email address and password of that email address. So likewise, this is my dummy email, so that's a given. You can use, don't use the same thing because this is not a valid one. You can use your proper email id and proper password, so that from this email you can send an email. So that's how I'll send an information stating that, so which is the registration email body. Here what you will do, so you'll get some formatted message. How your message will be looks like this is, thank you OBRS, thank you, your registration is completed. You will get as a subject. Next, dear username, greetings from OBRS, means online bus reservation system. Thank you for registering with us. User ID is whatever the email ID that they have, and whatever the password, and password is something, and after that OBS registration team, so helpline, like that we used to formatted the data, and this email will be sent to the user. So from this you can understand we are communicating from presentation layer to business access layer, from business access layer to data access layer. So this is your user code of, so from this to this data access layer. So you cannot notice normal, database connections and everything in your other layers. All the things will be in the data access layer. So like interacting with your stored procedure, so all the things will be here itself. Dynamically way of passing, all the things will be in the data access layer. You no need to implement anything in other layers. So in business access layer is responsible of passing your input from one layer to the another layer. So that's how we can implement the logic of login, and as well as how, based upon the role I'm trying to log in, like admin, user create is my page. So if I use clerk, so clerk related page will be login. So in this way I set a forms authentication. So my authentication is forms. So this is my login URL, slide expression, and everything is there. Suppose as a user, if you're trying to access user create directly, it never open, because which is a secure. I provided that kind of security in web.config file. So this is my web.config file. So if you understand the web.config of admin, so I use Denny users equal to star. Sorry, question mark. So question mark in the sense anonymous user who don't have username and password, they are not supposed to use this page, because I written that code. So if the user is not authenticated, so I'm setting redirect to login page, forms authentication dot redirect to login page, so that, so if the user was not authenticated, still you are opening a particular page, it never be opens. Instead of that, it will navigate to your login page. So that's how this your entire architecture model will be there. So the complete source code of this applications will be there in my blog itself. This is my blog, where in which you will find a tutorial like working with entire architecture or three-tier architecture using ASP.NET. So by clicking on this source code, you can download the complete project, and here you will have a database script also. So by using this database script also, you can download your script and you can work out on it. So this is the script. So generally you are working with any of the database. Say if you want to generate a script, right click on your database and click on tasks and click on generate scripts. So click on next. So select database object or enter objects as per use. So in my context, I want all the things like tables, stored procedures, and everything. Click next, and then so click on advanced, and here you have an option types of data to script. You can use schema and data, and click OK, and then click on save to new query window. So click next. so that it will generate the script for you, like insertion of the data and all the things. So you can make use of all the things, like your table creation, so creation, insertion thing, all the things, like your stored procedures and everything. So you can execute this directly by clicking F5, so that the database will be executed in our database, and you can feel free to work on it. So here in my context, I used Windows authentication. That's the reason I provided Windows authentication connection string. So if you are using SQL Server authentication, you can use your user ID and password. In my case, my server is dot. If you have your server name, you can provide your own name. So database, I created OBRS. That's the reason I given OBRS. So please do these necessary changes and execute this one. So that's all for this tutorial. And if you have any queries or any feedback or any suggestions, feel free to comment us. And please subscribe to my Facebook page and as well as YouTube page, so that which will be helpful for me to implement, to write a more number of posts and as well as more videos, so which are related to this technical stack. So thanks for watching. Bye.